What is good, YouTube? It is your boy JR4. Welcome back to another Warzone video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing 5 ways to get better at Warzone. Now, we are still in the beginning stages of Warzone 3. I mean, we got Fortune's Keep coming soon, Rebirth Island coming soon, probably even Verdansk coming later this year. So you're definitely going to want to be a better player so you can dominate on those new maps. Not to mention, Warzone Ranked is probably dropping soon as well. But trust me when I tell you, these 5 little tips and tricks will turn you from a bot into a demon. If you are new around here, be sure to click that subscribe button. Also leave a like if this video does help you out. All right, here we go. Starting off with tip number 1. If you want to get better at Warzone, you got to upgrade your setup, bruh. No cap. We know life itself is pay to win. Now, that could be anything. That could be upgrading your controller, upgrading your headset. That could be going from a PS5 to a PC. Now, if you're still playing on old gen like PS4 or Xbox One, you definitely need a new system. If you are still playing on that, you've been selling yourself this whole time. But yeah, if you want to get better at Warzone, definitely upgrade your setup. That could be switching to PC. That could be getting a new better monitor. If you're playing on a 60-inch TV that has low freaking frame rate, you're selling yourself, buddy. Stop playing on 60-inch, 70-inch TVs thinking you're gonna do something in the game. You need to get you a good monitor. Now, when I say upgrade the setup, you don't even have to get like a little $200 controller, bro. You can still use the standard. I've been using a standard PS4 controller this whole time. The only thing is I do use this little PlayStation back button attachment, which was like $30, but you can still, you know, get some control freaks, which are like $12. So you don't have to spend that much money to upgrade your system to become a better player. But like I said, life itself is pay to win. If you want all the bitches, you better have all the cash. I mean, back in Warzone 1, I was like a 1.3 KD when I was playing on PS4, but then I switched to PC and that KD jumped from a 1.3 to a 3.7, no cap. So definitely switching from a PS5 to a pretty good PC will definitely boost your KD just a little bit, even though PS5 is pretty good as well. But if you want to take it to the next level, you got to upgrade your system, upgrade the headset. If you're still using like a $20 headset, you're selling yourself. Now moving on to tip number 2, and that is to practice, practice, practice. Practice your aim, practice your movement. Warzone 3 finally has a skill gap. Aim assist is still almost aimbot, but at least now we have a movement skill gap. Now, how do you practice your aim in Warzone 3? Well, you just want to be in the shoot-around, you know what I'm saying? Think about it if you were an NBA player. You want to be in the shoot-around, you know, always testing out the jump shot, always making sure your jump shot is perfect at all ranges. So you need to make sure your aim is good at all ranges. Think about it. Some of y'all are probably only playing, you know, multiplayer. Some of y'all are probably only playing Vondel, which means your aim is probably only good at mid-range. So you need to start playing Urzikstan, or you need to start stepping up in the freaking shoot-around and practicing those long-distance shots. A lot of people say, I got aimbot, I got a Cronus. No, sir, I just practice. Usually, back in the day in Warzone 2, I would be in the shoot-around probably for like 10 minutes before I started playing. But yeah, you definitely also need to be practicing your movement like we said. You better make sure them slide cancels are on lock. Like I said, Warzone 3 finally has a little skill gap with the movement, so you better make sure your movement is on point. You better know when to chow, when not to chow, when to like slide cancel around a corner, when not to slide cancel around a corner. Breaking cameras is a skill in Warzone. Another way to get better at Warzone is to practice your centering. Now, what your centering is, it's this little white dot in the middle of your screen. I'll have an arrow pointing down to it, but basically the biggest problem that a lot of Warzone players face is that their centering is aimed at the ground. A lot of people, when they're running around the map, the little white dot is aimed at the ground. Even when they're going up staircases, they're aiming at the ground and everything. Now, this is a huge problem because of the fact that you're aiming at the ground. You're more likely to lose the gunfight. This is an example right here. I'm running around through this area. Someone pulls up on me from that doorway. I would have to then flick so hard to get the kill. So instead, what you want to do is have this white dot aimed higher, almost as if you're like predicting where an enemy could peek you from. I'll repeat myself. You want to make sure this white dot is as if you're predicting where an enemy is. That is what centering is. That is how you practice your centering. Let's say someone is about to peek me through this door. I'm already almost ADSing it. You know what I'm saying? It's as if you're predicting where the enemy is about to be. So yeah, like I said, you don't want to be aiming at the ground. You want to be aiming higher. That way, if someone were to pull up on you, you can instantly flick on them and will probably win the gunfight 90% of the time. Moving on to tip number 3 to get better at Warzone, you're going to want to have to adjust and use the best settings in Warzone 3. As you can see in Call of Duty, we have so many settings. We got keyboard and mouse settings, controller settings, graphic settings, audio settings, interface settings. I mean, just look through at all these settings that can make or break your game. Now, the good thing is I've already made a video on all the best settings to use in Call of Duty. It should be up here somewhere where I cover the best controller settings, the best audio settings, the best graphics settings. So go watch that video if you haven't already. But the thing is, sadly, I play on PC. So some of those settings might work for you and some of those settings probably won't. So what I would do if I were you, I would go search up like whatever system you're playing on. Let's say you're playing on a PS5. I would go search up the best graphic settings for PS5, the best audio settings for PS5, because those settings are different for everyone that plays on different systems. For example, since I play on PC, I can have my audio mix set to PC speaker, whereas some of y'all, if y'all play on console, you won't have this setting. Now, this setting is definitely the best audio setting in Warzone at the moment, but sadly, like I said, only PC people can use it. But yeah, if you want to get better at Warzone, you better be using the best settings. Come on now, lock in. Moving on to tip number 4, and that is to use the best loadouts. If you want to get better, if you want to be the best, then you got to be using the best weapons. You got to be using the current Warzone meta. Right now, as I'm making this video, the current Warzone meta for the best AR, the best long-range gun is the Ram 7. It has the fastest TTK. It has no recoil. It's the best gun right now. And the best SMG is the HRM 9. So if you're using any other gun, you're selling yourself. I don't care if you don't like the Ram. I don't care if you don't like using the meta. I don't like using the meta because it's weird. I'm not a sweat. Then why are you watching this video, bruh? If you want to get better, use the Ram 7, use the HRM, use the current meta. Stop using your favorite guns. Some of y'all are probably still using MW2 weapons. I love the MW2 weapons. I love my M4. Stop doing that. You're selling yourself. Use the best loadouts. If you want to be the best, you gotta use the best. Not only should you be using the best gun, but you should also be using the best attachments. Here's my attachments for the Ram 7, as you can see right here, and here's my attachments for the HRM, as you can see right here. But yeah, like I said, you're gonna want to be using the best attachments. Don't try and make it yourself, because you'll probably end up selling. You'll probably end up picking some weird-ass sight or some weird-ass attachment that doesn't help your gun whatsoever. You gotta be using what the pros are using. Honestly, this Ram 7 class right here is not my class at all. Someone fried me with it against me on Vondel, so I asked them for the class setup and they gave it to me, so I'm using theirs now. So yeah, if you want to get better, you got to be using the best guns. I don't care if it ain't your favorite gun. Stop using your favorite gun. You're only selling yourself and your teammates. You got to be using the current Warzone meta if you want to get better at the game. Now, tip number 5 on how to get better at Warzone is to learn from the best. If you want to get better, you got to be watching the best. You got to be watching how they compete in tournaments. You got to be watching the pro players. You got to be watching their rotations. You got to be watching their positioning, and you got to learn from it. If you want to get better at the game, then you need better in-game IQ. Now, what is IQ? Your in-game IQ is basically like your in-game intelligence, your in-game strategies, your skills. A good example of IQ is, you know, knowing when to rotate, when not to rotate, knowing when to push, when not to push, knowing which building to sit in. Having high in-game IQ can lead you to getting more kills, higher placements, and more wins in general. But you need to be watching the best, and you need to start practicing and mastering their plays. You got to be knowing when to push, when not to push, when to rotate, where to rotate, and that is all from in-game IQ. But yeah, if you want to get better at the game, you need to be watching the best play. You need to be watching Biffle, TP, Symphony. Don't be watching Tim the Tapman and thinking you're getting better at the game. Come on now, lock it in. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. We covered 5 ways to get better at Warzone. If this video did help you out, be sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you are new.